emails once in a while.
1, 2, 3.
As long as you don't exceed the
Bill
number.
and Rod are
You're all
not.
right.
They show up.
I've done it half a dozen times.
Bill said he was.
I know, I can use that.
I don't know, she just said somebody
I
called.
could-
I think he's on fire or something.
Like I turned that into a PDF.
I seen the fire trucks.
Earlier today, he said, I'll be there.
I just seen the fire trucks go out a little bit ago, and maybe that's what he's doing. I mean, I don't,
So,
that's what you were just saying, Tom, so.
This bypasses those limitations.
And Rod, I guess, had a document.
I'm not sure exactly. I think what it does is it stores the web image online, and so when you click on it, it loads that web image.
okay,
That's what it does. So it's
that's very interesting.
I'll find the name of it and get it to you. I started that website, but I got so tied up and being gone 2 days that it's really kind of kicked me.
I started another job, and, but I haven't started, you know, he wants me to start now, but he hasn't started until next week, so.
I'll try and get it ready for the next couple days. I know it's a long.
Hey, how you doing, guys?
Good, how are you?
Good.
We'll see how tomorrow plays.
Hey, Cory. How's it going? Good, how are you? I'm doing all right.
Thanks, man.
Hi, Brian, how are you? Good. What's going on?
Okay.
Not much, what would you?
Did you sit down here all by yourself?
Creature habit, I guess. I put all my garbage here. Somebody's got to turn on the PA system.
Already did.
Hey, Mark. How you doing? Good, how you doing?
Yeah, I did that. I started when I was 10, and I think I did it throughout my entire school.
There you go.
Hey, Mark. How's it going? No, you didn't want to fix your tabs back. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm on the road.
Yeah, they do a little thing where they come talk to you and they make sure you're a legitimate person.
Now I faked it there.
Yeah, they're easy to go on.
I mean, we have a lot of things that are aware from. I have no idea. You're talking, yeah, I just seen. I know, Yeah, they come up nice to me. See the deck today, that's it. And those are done.
That's almost good.
Hey Terry, all right.
Got a sheet right to break your ear all night.
Call meeting to order. Please rise and pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any amendments to the agenda? I have one under new business. I'll explain what's going on, but it's going to be handled by the DDA, so. So it's really not a topic for us, I guess, at this point, but I will explain what happened.
Was it an amendment then, or?
I can state it under my report as opposed to having new business. So,
I just have a question, I don't know if it's an agenda amendment, but Joe had brought it up, Larry brought it up, I brought it up about the sign ordinance, considering that regarding Andy and Marcy's building.
That was
Do we
handed
need to
out.
write a letter to the planning commission, or what do we need to do to?
Maybe we probably need to re-inform them since the old chair is down now and there's a new board available.
Well, I mentioned it at the meeting, so I just wonder if council needs to do anything to make sure that that occurs, or,
is the planning commission going to readdress it?
I think so,
Have they addressed it at all yet?
yeah. That's fine bringing it up.
You brought up at the last meeting about, talking about a deputy clerk.
Right.
Is that going to be brought up tonight?
No, I decided not to.
So should we in old business include the sign ordinance? Could I ask the planning commission again? I would agree with you.
Here.
Okay. Old business, A, sign ordinance.
Anybody else? Motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve.
So moved, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion's carried, roll call.
Klein,
Here.
Stefan, absent, Clark,
Here.
Bear is absent, Howard,
Here.
Belknap,
Here.
Becker.
Here. Approval of the minutes of July 8, 2015.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of July 8, 2015 as presented.
Any support?
Support.
Been moved and supported, any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion's carried. Public comment?
Yeah, I just asked the council, if maybe under new business, you'd address the issue of what your policy on the release of personal information is. Because it's well known in the community that this month, personal information was released outside of a FOIA request, without the council ever discussing it, and without it truly relating to any council business that anybody knew of. So, I think the release is questionable at best of personal information, and I think the council should really discuss what their policy is on it.
Are you referring to information that's being passed to the council itself?
Yes.
Any other public comment? Reports, Scott, please.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to apologize for not making the last two meetings, but I got tied up with some Little League obligations, and again, I apologize for not being here, so if there's anything, I'm glad to be back. Hopefully you had a chance to look over the report. Very, very busy month during July. 160-some events for the month that took place, not that we handled, but together combined. 4th of July went very well, lots of people, but very little complaints. If they were there, just like parking complaints or barking dogs or something like that. So it was like an 18-hour day that day, but very few complaints. Assisted with Central Lake School Bicycle Safety Program. Is our qualification with the Elk Rapids Police Department. So pretty much everything spelled out kind of the way this always does, but very busy month. So Bill's not here, so I'll do his. You want me to do his now or just?
Sure, go ahead.
Basically, some extra time spent getting the new car set up with the camera and the equipment. We have a brand new camera system in it, but it kind of was defective, so we had to send it back. We got it back now. So the rear view mirror basically is the brains behind the whole operation. It was just kind of going to a black gray screen of death. So we got a new one in. I still don't have it hooked up, but it's ready to go. The body camera that I wear is separate, but they talk to each other. So we at least have a camera system kind of working. We've been playing around with that. So we were able to finish up on all the paperwork through the USDA. Sat down with Rachel and Larry, and we met up with the USDA and got everything 100% totally done. We submitted all of our paperwork. We received the check and payment for their portion that they were contributing. So we are totally done with the car. And I think I'm not sure the timeline, but the other car was sold, so we're out of the new car, old car, we're into the new car, so everything else is ready to go, so. It's working out really good. Some people like the design, some people don't, so we're kind of mixed feelings there, so, but it handles really nice and drives real nice, so.
Any questions for Scott?
I do, Scott, on the ordinance issues, are there still the old Blake things coming up to number 7 there, or is those something new?
It's kind of just as kind of a refresher, Bob works 1 day a week, so I get him for 8 hours, and kind of he handles some little complaints if they're given to him, so he's got very little time to work on ordinance issues. In realistically, we could have one person working full-time doing nothing but just ordinance issues, so we're trying to tackle what we can with the limited time we have. So every time he comes, he finishes up on some.
So
We're
these
dealing
aren't
with,
anything new, these are
Well,
something he's already working on?
no, they're new
or
complaints. I mean,
These are all brand new?
by the time he settles 7 complaints, he's getting 7, 8 more, and it's just constantly people, junk and grass and, just things like you wouldn't think people would have to be told or reminded, but we're kind of doing, it's kind of being kind of redundant at times, so. And unfortunately, with the way that Brian wants us to handle it, with the, written notice and 10-day notice and all those things, it's really time consuming, so. Something as simple as me coming to your house and telling you to mow your grass is not that simple, because then you get a written notice, and then you got a 10-day notice, and then you gotta find out who's on the deed part of it, and you gotta send that person the notice, and you can't just issue the person, it's really time consuming. So, but he's working really hard. Like I said, unfortunately, I wish I could have him more and doing it, because I think we could tackle it a little bit harder, so, but we're doing the best we can with what we have, so,
Thank you.
thanks.
Anybody else? Thanks, Scott.
Yep.
Sam?
Everybody should have a copy of the DPW report. Number 6 on there, I wrote down 9 picnic tables rebuilt, that number is actually 10. We put the last one together, Lyle came up and helped us build 9 of them, of the 10. Number 10 on that list, road builders, they are done. They put black dirt and seed mulch down today. I will get a hit list for them tomorrow and give it to them, and I would think by Monday they'll probably get that all caught up, and I'll be submitting the bill to the village to go ahead and pay it. And I don't have my glasses on. Number 13, I don't think anybody even knew it other than Larry, but the Bunker Hill well was out for 2 weeks. We had a bottom sensor go on the bottom of the tank, and like I said, I don't think anybody even knew it, but I put it on the report just for that reason. Any questions?
Cameron, number 12, we recorded 4 streetlights on Cameron and end of Lakeview Lane. Is that one of them by chance? Right
I
on the
would have to
corner?
go back to the shop and tell you.
Okay, I haven't
Are
blinking
those
on
all?
it. Well, the
Are they
one right
blinking?
at the end on the corner of Farmer Express and is blinking on also.
I will check them in the morning.
Anybody have anything else? Lyle?
Well, July was a very active month. We had 169 saves last night. For a 5-week period, we had one major problem down there on 4th of July. That was with fireworks being shot off to the dock. I was called everything but a white man when I approached the party. But that was handled. We also had problems in the bathrooms with toilets being plugged up again. And I think we're on top of that right now. I've moved 9 of the tables into service. We've taken 4 tables that were broken down out of service. I got 1 more to take out. As soon as the people move off the site so I can get at it handily, I'll take that out of service. I put the new tables in the campground. To make room for them, I put some of the tables that I took out of service over into the small pavilion. There were shorter tables over there. Other than that, like Sam said, I was up and worked there on those tables. I also helped on the picnic and the misplaced, sites, I shouldn't say sites, equipment, tents put in the wrong place. Moved off the sites, I got up on a Sunday morning and tent was sitting out by the water, and seems like somebody was informed that they could do that. Anyway, that's been handled, so. Go from there.
Anybody have anything to add?
Well, I was down, buddies of mine staying down there, and I think I touched base with you a little bit on some of the things that they had asked about. I don't know if it's something the council would wanna look at also, or the committee, but the things that came up with these people, one, the LED lights, they're in between site, I think it's 4 and 5.
4 and 5's got an LED light on, site 1 and 2's got an LED light on.
Yeah, the one they were, thought was quite bright, was at night at 12 o'clock when they were trying to sleep, it would shine through the tents, and so they were concerned or asked, is there something that could be done with them to maybe put a timer on them or an off switch or something? I know, when I talked to Lyle about it, his comment was that it stopped thefts from happening, but it's just something that...
We got 2 things that we gotta be concerned about. Our liability as far as somebody falling in the fire pit there at night. The kids don't go to bed at 10 o'clock like they might go at home. And we even got kids out there running around at 11 o'clock without parents around and so forth. We turn those lights off at 11 o'clock. I think we open ourselves up for a liability issue on the fire pits and so forth.
What if it was midnight or something? I mean, is there something that could be changeable? That was just the thing that was brought, so I'm just passing it on. The other thing that was brought, and again, this is something maybe the committee could look at, is does the bathroom have to have an 8-number combination? Can it come down to 4? That was the other one I got.
No,
Sorry.
no, it don't have to have an 8 combination number. We've been busy enough that I didn't feel comfortable taking Polnet down today. I get in there and reset the master code in order to get a 4-digit number on there. And that, I elected to leave it at 8 numbers for the simple reason that I've had enough people in there all year to take and create a problem if I go up there and pull it down after Labor Day, when I will take and work on it.
Yeah, I'm just passing on.
I
What my
understand.
buddies that were on that site for at the time had mentioned, that was the only thing I did.
The committee had already talked about the lights to Lyle, and the fact that it has deterred theft a great deal in the park since those lights have been up. Plus the fact of safety and the security.
As I look at sites 4 and 5, what we can do is put a screen on the light on the lake side. Because all the campers are going to be down, the campers will be down here, and the light will still shine on the road area. Instead of trying to put timers on it and everything else, because then we got daylight savings. And
So are we gonna allow tents and all that down lower to the lake then?
Well, site 4 and 5, those are camper sites.
I believe actually between 7 and 6 is where the light is.
Okay, you said 4 and 5.
Yeah, I
Seven
was
and
mistaken.
6.
Yeah, I believe that's.
7 and 6?
I believe that was the light.
We can look
Right
into
up.
it.
Yeah, it's just something to look at.
A screen on the camping side of it, so that way it is blocked a little bit, and it's down shine versus a spread out shine of the LED light a little bit. But as for timers, we put those lights in it.
I know what you're saying, it's just something to look at.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Screen's probably the easiest solution.
I think Leland and Melissa got the feeling so the general campers down there, the lights were not bothering that
No.
much. But site 6, I think by taking and changing the bracket up there a little bit and
Yeah.
swinging that light just
Sure.
a little bit off to the side might alleviate some of the problem. But take them and shut them off. I'm against it.
We agree
Plain and
with that.
simple.
That's a safety hazard right there.
Anything else for last?
No.
Correspondence, I think will probably end up coming out to the rest of the meeting, though I did receive a document and a bunch of pictures as I walked through the door at 6:30 tonight. And on it, it indicated that I should bring it up either through correspondence or the president's report, but I'm not going to because there was no name attached to it. And if somebody would like to come forward and explain their position, and so I can end up talking with them directly and know where it's coming from. I have no idea where it came from. So I'm going to leave it at that tonight, to say that there was correspondence. It dealt with some issues that may or may not be valid, and I'm sure it'll be taken care of as we proceed this month. So,
And
okay.
the issues,
The condition of our community. And like I said, some of it may have been legitimate, some of it may not have been, but nobody's willing to stand behind it with their name. I'm not going
will
to
the
present
council,
it.
will the council get a copy of that for next month so they can also?
Council can have copies of it, but I'm not going to put forth in the public because it's, they wouldn't defend themselves,
That's
so.
right, I agree to that. You can't back up what you have to say, then you gotta keep your mouth shut, and your pencils.
No, they were backing up what they were saying,
But not with
but
a name,
not telling anybody what to do.
that's right.
So I'm not gonna get involved with that, so. That's all I have under correspondence, committee reports. Rob?
Like Sam said, the paving's done. Some interesting things came out of the paving. One was at the Howard Ballard Street intersection. It was raised up. Why it was raised up, we didn't know, but it was causing water to go into the apartments and the house on either side, the west. Well, when they started grinding up the road, put the new road in, they found the old road had never been ground up either. And they literally paved over the old road, leaving the sewer drains and everything in place. So Reith and Riley had to go in and pull those out and actually grade down 2 sets of roads. So that's what was causing a water problem at that intersection. So that's kind of an interesting thing that whoever did that, and it had to have been greater than 15 years ago that that intersection had been paved. I looked at the drain culverts and I could not find a date on them, so I was kind of curious as to when that occurred. But it looks like that intersection, the water's flowing down it now. Sam dumped 350 gallons of water down there today to see which way the water was flowing. And it looks like that problem has been alleviated. So,
Did the extra work cause any adjustment to the money that we're gonna owe?
we're gonna find out next week. So,
It has to. Yeah.
let's see. They started replacing the sidewalk just west of the school on Old State Road. Let's see. Howard Street, south of the school, they're gonna start working on that sidewalk as well. Melissa got a call from Kelly Young from the Village Market with concerns about the red stamped concrete in front of her store on Old State Road and on the loading dock between the store itself and the old Tia's building. So Melissa told me about it, Sam and I went down there, and what's happening is the red stamped concrete is flaking up and scaling up. And Sam has enough, the red dye, to make repairs on that portion of the sidewalk. I called Kelly back and I said, I'm not a business owner, but it seemed to me that after Labor Day would be a better time to do that, so we're not having truck traffic out onto the road during the busiest part of the summer. So that's not gonna occur till after Labor Day. And again, why did that occur? It was paved in '08, so I talked to our resident expert, Mr. Greg Bloom. And he felt the reason that this occurred, this scaling they call it, is because they did not use air entrapped concrete. And what this air is put into the concrete so that it can, the water in the concrete can expand and contract. That way, it does, when there is a freeze, the concrete doesn't pop and break off. So, or he also said they could have used limestone and not enough chalk stone. We don't feel it was the stamping itself. I've talked to some other people as well. They didn't do it, they did not, and then I looked back in 08 when they did do the original red concrete. It was done in June, so no chloride was added to the mix, and concrete did not freeze. I do have to talk to Mr. Dave Wilson at Stryker Supply to make sure it was not the red dye. He feels it's not. And Greg wanted me to pass this along. Do it right the first time. DeForest and Bloom. Greg Bloom. That's all I got.
In front of the marker where it faces Bill's, where
Yes.
the not
Planter
red
box.
side, the not red sidewalk, but the regular sidewalk, there's two pretty large,
Chunks, yeah.
yeah.
We're gonna get in there and he's gonna get the jackhammer after Labor Day and replace the red and the other portion. And, that's it.
Rod's not here, Bill's not here, Melissa?
Well, with those two not here, and this is kind of a long thing, I'm just gonna kind of breeze through a couple of the things here, you guys can read it quick, but, Rachel, we still have on the campground, the membership verbiage, people are still wondering what campground membership is, if we can get that taken off, or, okay. Talking about the complaint list developed in July, I think that it would be a good idea for the personnel committee to develop a complaint process and form so that if a person does have a complaint, they can write it down themselves.
I agree 100%.
The next one is performance evaluation forms, again, for the same kind of a reason. Recommended that we create an evaluation process and form for governmental employees to be developed. Standard practice in most government systems, so I think that's something we should look at. The phone books for 2016, if we're gonna be in those with the Thurston Park and the village offices, if we can confirm that. The mission statements, we've talked about that before, we're still trying to gather those up from each committee chair. Joe, you might know the answer to this one. The lady Elsie, did I spell this right? Nemenek, that wrote the complaint about the pavilion? Nemenek? It was available when she had asked for it. Do you know if she got to use it, or what happened
I
there?
have no idea
Okay.
with any of that.
Okay, Rachel, did she submit a rental agreement and all that stuff, or?
What had happened is the bigger pavilion was rented to somebody else well, see, the thing was, is when Susie came in, she said that she had her weekends mixed up because the weekend that Rollins family wanted the big pavilion, it was already rented, so that they had to have the little pavilion. And the Chamberhead had the pavilion for the next weekend, so she had her weekends all mixed up. But I did speak to her. The weekend that was in question was the 18th.
Well, did this lady, did she try to make the reservation with us for that day, and then what we looked, why would Susie be engaged in figuring out the weekend? I mean,
Because Susie thought that the chamber event was that same weekend, and it was not. It was the weekend after.
well, that's what I'm asking. Would this lady come in, fill out the application, we write it on the calendar, and it's good to go? I mean, so on that date, was the chamber event wrote in for the 21st?
It was, the weekends were two different weekends. The weekend that they wanted it was the 18th, and the weekend that the chamber had it was the 22nd. So, yeah, there were just two different weekends.
They got it, if I remember right,
No.
on the 18th?
No,
Oh, they didn't?
somebody else had already rented it before they called in,
Okay.
but they got it for next year. They're all set for
Good.
next year.
All right, I was looking for the internet communications policy on the website. Is it there somewhere?
It's an in-house policy, so it has nothing to do with the public.
Okay, the next couple of notes, you guys can see that I'm recommending that there's some significant changes in the communications policy that, without the other two guys here, I'd really at this time probably like to just table that so that everybody can look at what was proposed and what could be. So I think that if it's all right with you guys, we'll just kind of skip this next communications policy part right now and go on to the new business part. Another website question, the village administrative assistant job description, does that go on the website?
It's not on
President?
I don't know if the president has something on there. I have a note here that the Facebook page is not being, in my eyes, used to full potential. I think there's some posts that could be added, like the streets, when the roads were being worked on, if you're closing the office, things of that nature, so. I just wanted to put that out there. I think that we can do a little bit more with that. The next thing is, on July 22nd, Sam, our DPW supervisor, got a call from the clerk about an appointment that was set and an email that was sent from dpw@centrallakemichigan.org. The questions that I have were who corresponded with a bridge inspection officer and who monitors, like, I understand that Rachel doesn't know where the email was generated from, according to Larry, but my question is don't we have a backup system or something like that? I can't remember what the name of the
Advanced
company
Computer
is,
Solution does all of our backups.
that would have that information that we
Write
could
down all
look
that
up.
information.
We do?
No, the email doesn't exist.
it.
It's not there.
DPW@centrallakemichigan.org does not exist.
It doesn't exist. Corey?
I researched that and called the owner of Channel Lakes Internet, and they indicated that email was never set up.
So it's never been used.
It was on the village website page. I know that it's not there
It
now.
was never set up, so it doesn't exist, truly. It's never been set up to be used.
So
And I
how
did
do
speak,
we address what's Sam saying in this letter? What's the, I
Really,
mean, that seems to be a kind of a security
it appeared to be that way initially, but I don't think it is. I think they used the email address. Nobody responded to that according to what our records show and what their records show. They sent it out 3 times, didn't get anything back. Then they followed up with a phone call the day before they were coming, that supposedly they said at Sam's telephone voicemail at the shop, and he didn't get it for whatever reason. He said he was there that day, or was in and out around that day, but he didn't get it. They showed up and thinking that they had an appointment, but Rachel didn't know about it, Sam didn't know about it, and that's kind of what happened. So it
this
got
is
changed
just a
from a
big
2
bunch
o'clock
of
to a 3.
mistakes.
It appears that way, yes.
Okay. Our financial reports, are we gonna keep on doing those each month?
I had utility billing and
Okay.
all
All right, last Sunday, there was the big, church service down at the park. A lady posted some kind of not really good remarks on the Central Lake News page about that, some parking issues that she had and some complaints. And I don't have grief with anybody here, but my question is, if there's an event going on, how do we let other departments know that this is happening? You know, if we knew the church was having this big event, do we need to, you know, does the clerk need to say to Sam or to Scott, this big event's going on, we need you to, you know, keep your eye out, or what's the, how do we,
Did any of y'all know about the event?
No.
I did. Yeah.
That's kind of what we have
I
an
didn't know-
event
I didn't
permit
know
for,
about
and
it.
the event permit is designed to let Scott or Sam know if they.
Well, that's
need
if
to do
it's over
extra stuff.
200 people, right? And this wasn't 200 people. I'm having an event there at the end of the month, which won't be 200 people, but I've already let Scott know, you know, so I'm just saying, we need to let somebody know somehow that this is
I think
going on.
initially when the event permit was developed, it was developed for the communication to Scott and to Sam and to anybody who needs to know this stuff, regardless of the size of it. The intent that I believe Brian Graham wrote in with the 200 people was that that's at the point that it adds in a added liability to the village.
Right.
And so I think that's where the 200 people come in, but it would be smart, if you're gonna have a larger event of any kind, a family of 10 having a picnic there, no, I
No
don't
big
think they
deal,
got to,
right.
but if you're gonna have a larger event,
Right, right.
I would think you should fill out an event permit. If you think you're going to need the village's help with anything. I mean,
Well, I'm not arguing that, I think that's great, but if we need to determine if we're gonna just caution and advise everyone to do it, whether it's 10 people having breakfast or 200 having a big party,
199.
or 199,
There's 200 at
you know, and they're all drinking wine, then what, you know, so.
does that add liability to the village?
I don't know, right, so just putting that out there for discussion. The planning commission, at the meeting the other night, the chair would like to have a website, and with that in mind and us reviewing our communications policy, I think we should incorporate that in there for other branches or arms of the council, how we're gonna handle that. And then the last thing was, there's been some closures in the office, there's been like 4 in the last 4 months, and I understand that you need to close for whatever reason, but if we could post the date and the time and when you're gonna be back, because some of the notices have said, gone at noon, but nobody knows, was it like noon on Tuesday or noon on Wednesday, or when's the office gonna be reopened? So if it could just say, I'm closed on Tuesday at 1 o'clock, see you tomorrow or something like that, just so we know. And maybe a blurb on the Facebook so that somebody's not driving down here and gets to the door and is kind of bummed out about it, so that'd be good. Okay, that's all I got.
So, actually, this month's been slow for me. I had a lot of family in, so I didn't do much. I did come across one thing during billing that just makes me question. I have to, on 7/22/2015, or 7/24/2015, we have a $108.50 bill from our village attorney for a meeting with the village president regarding a personal matter. And so again, is it personnel?
Personnel,
Did I read it?
personnel.
I thought it was personal. Did I read
There's
that?
an
Yeah.
N, how do you spell it?
Personnel.
Okay, I read that wrong.
Yeah.
Sorry. That's the only reason I asked. I read that wrong.
Personnel.
Okay. That's all I have.
Well, we have, I remember you mentioning a bill last month in regards to Larry and the lawyer, and it's, do we have a set rule that says Larry can't spend more than X dollars? I mean, I know that many times in the past, we've heard the village president spending money at the lawyer, so what are we, you know, are we gonna ask every time Larry calls a lawyer, or?
I think
What's
the
our-
job
how do we
descriptions
handle
are
this?
pretty well written by the state in how to, that's informed, while it is his responsibility, at least the way I read it, it's his responsibility to look over the affairs of the village, but is to report them to the council, and the council will decide how they want to react to them. That's the way I read it. Maybe I'm wrong, I don't
Well,
know.
no, I'm just asking you, how do we determine, you know, Larry's in charge of his legal fees budget, he can spend up to whatever
Which
we,
we're only
Stay?
5 months into our year, and we're already half over. And we're already,
What's
used
our
our budget
budget?
half, 6,000, and we're roughly $3,500, $3,600 right now.
we have the big Dollar General thing, that probably ate up a huge portion of that, most of it, I would say.
Since we were also talking about that, last month's meeting, we had the question and the bill from the attorney for the chain of command.
217, I think it was, 217.
And I don't know if Brian read the handbook, but it says in our handbook that all employees serve at will pleasure of the village of the council will serve the final board of appeals for an employee. And what it says was underneath the village president is the DPW and all non-elected office personnel and the police chief. So pretty much anybody who's not an elected personnel reports to the president, if that would help. I don't know if Brian had a chance to read this or provided that with him, because I know he questioned some of the commands on that. Was that number 5 on that list of stuff? I think that would have cleared that up. I was looking at it. Just saying.
Anything else?
I don't have nothing else.
Lily? Parks?
Okay, on the parks, Lal's done a pretty good job down there. Matter of fact, I was down there and talked to several people who have campgrounds down there. And I had only one person who might have had a problem. The rest of them were very, very receptive to Lyle and how he's handling the park. I've also got 3 letters of recommendation from people who had campgrounds down there who commended Lyle on the job he's done. And I myself have seen a definite improvement on the park. He's done a wonderful job, and he's gone out of his way. He's done a lot to help on other problems that were not consistent with what his job description is. And I really highly recommend it would be redone again next year when the time comes for it. That's all I have to say.
In my report, I've got the garden, a member of the garden club approached me with respect to the grounds of the Chamber of Commerce cabins and the gazebo behind it. Those facilities are on village property, and we are ultimately responsible for them. So, however, that area is also part of the DDA. So I went to Corey and said, would the DDA be willing to look into this? They obtained a bid of $27.75 from Simon Gardens to do what they would like to do. Most of that, or quite a little bit of that, was labor, which our DPW boys can do with no additional cost. That's really part of their job, to take out whatever was there and to put back, and that's up to the garden club as to what they want to do with that. And that's going to be roughly $1,500 to $2,000 somewhere. Since it's in the DDA district, they, I think, have the budget to cover it. So I asked Corey to take it to the DDA and ask if they would be willing to work with the garden club to enhance the appearance of that down there.
Well, just while we're on, will we get 3 bids on this,
I
different
was gonna
people?
say the same thing, right.
With the scope of the money anyways?
Well, this bid, it's over $2,500 when we ask for 3 bids on something, right?
Yes, but,
But this amount will be lessened because
right,
the DPW can do it.
can do a lot of,
Right, so.
at
we
least
know it will
$800
be
of that
less.
labor cost would put it under $2,000.
Right, right.
So-
My question here is merely about removing the trees.
Right.
Why?
According to Simon Gardens, that those cedar trees were growing into the building and will ultimately
Crack the wall.
crack walls and do things of that sort. And he just says it seems to make sense to dress it up, to pull those out and put something different in there that would be more attractive. So,
When we talk about trees, and I just gotta ask, I believe there was a council's consensus a few years ago that we didn't cut any tree down without having, Sam, what's the guy's name from Bel Air, of course, or the, Mike Ware, but they're looking at him and make a recommendation.
I would say that, let's have a real tree guy or a real person or whomever.
The
make that
trees you're
call.
talking about are gonna come back good. They're cedar trees out in the field. There's nothing wrong with them. I guess I would recommend if they have to be pulled, to physically try to hand dig them up somewhat and transplant them to another spot and move them and see if we could save them. Because you know, when Mike looks at it, he's gonna say, why would you wanna cut a beautiful little cedar tree like that? And they are beautiful little cedar trees.
They look really good.
Well, I just know we kinda took that approach a few years ago that we said we wouldn't do, and it was always cut one, replace one.
I wouldn't be against renting a little spade and go spade them out and move them. Lyle's talking about he needs some nice cedar trees in the park. Be a
Definitely.
really nice spot to put them cedar trees. Why would you wanna spoil a 20-year-old
We can
tree?
use them and they're not destroyed.
So, you already talked to Corey though about having the DDA look at this and come up with plans, or really it's not?
So it's just information to us.
Okay.
Come to
Corey,
Luke
I'll come
right
back to
now.
something.
I've been thinking about Sandy, who's doing our flowers this year. She appears to be doing a pretty good job. That was funded through the DDA, but I'm thinking for next year, I'm gonna recommend that it revert back to the council and to the DPW's realm of supervision, just because when she needs something, she has to go to the DPW rather than to the DDA, the planning
Well, then
commission.
she can do flowers for the whole village, right?
And then she
Not
can
just
do
the
it,
downtown
and not
area.
just the downtown area.
That, Sam, that was put into, was it Major Streets or local a few years ago, do you remember? But, so it's not in our 101 now, correctly, okay.
It's in one of the street funds, I don't know.
Okay.
And you're all aware of the storm that hit very hard south of us. Sam happened to be in Traverse City that night and came back and drove through Elk Rapids, and it looked like a war zone. And 3 days, 4 days later, they were supposed to start with their Harbor Days Festival. And he called me and said, can we go down and help them clean things up? I said, that's a great idea. I authorized it. He talked to the township. They talked to Stan. Stan authorized it. And so Sam, 3, and Scott went down 4. And the 3 from the township went down, worked 2 days, I think a total of 100 and some hours for those 7 people. The village of Elk Rapids called today, said we're gonna send you guys a resolution thanking them. They were very, very grateful.
That's great. Thanks, Sam, that's great.
Thank you, guys.
You guys really-
And I'm sure there's somebody out there that's gonna give us flack for sending our boys someplace else, but somewhere down the road.
We might need that too.
Scott, you use them, you guys kind of go back and forth quite a bit in the summer times, you helping them during Harbor Days?
Yeah, I was down there Saturday, and then they'll send a car like for our 4th of July, and it works out really well.
That's all I have on my report. Does somebody have some questions for me? Okay, new business? Nope, sorry, approval of bills. At a total of $43,320.14. Need a motion to approve the bills.
I'll make a motion to pay the bills as presented.
Support.
Then moved and supported. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say roll call.
Bodley,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Tyler.
Yep.
Zorn,
Yes.
Heather.
New business, we've already talked about flower beds, so information passed on to council is new business at the suggestion of Mr. Cruzy.
But we didn't amend the agenda to include that new business. It was public comment.
That was public comment, what we're gonna talk about a little bit. I think what's being referred to is Melissa was seeking the names and phone numbers of the people who had the complaints from our last meeting. And in checking with the attorney, she was certainly within her rights to ask for that information because she is a member of the council. She was also a member of the Parks Committee, which gave her full authority to obtain that information. It did not have to be FOIA, and that's what happened. And it was, she received it.
I personally, I would question Brian's answer on that, just for the fact of the reason. I don't believe releasing personal information of anybody's in our villages that they could do a phone number and address if they don't want. I wouldn't want mine out there. And for Brian to say that because she's a council person gives her more rights than the average public person doesn't make sense to me. Where is the legislation or the documents that say, as council members, we have more rights? Because I've got a pile of documents that tell you that it's not foiable by the general public. So how can a
She's
council
not,
person?
but she's not the general public. She's an elected
And
official.
that's what I say, where's the documentation that says that? Either any council member, I'm not saying you in particular, you know, I'm just saying anybody.
Well, that's right.
Yeah, we have $2,400 left.
That's right.
Makes sense to me.
But when it's a problem that consisted of part of our job, and it actually, in a sense, is, if it's a negative letter, it's against one of the committee or the council, then they have the right to know who said this and what the information was.
I just look
You know,
at
it
it
could be, it might be Rob needs to talk to 10 different people about their water meters or something like that. I don't, it's not like the person is gonna go out and publish everybody's names and numbers or something like that. I think we're entrusted to have some leeway and,
wouldn't this also go back to that number 5 of Brian's from last month? That says, as an individual on the council, you have no authority. You only have the council that's granted to you by the power of the whole council.
Well, then
So
if
for
that's
any one
true,
person,
there's
they
probably not a
act on
person on this council that's acted as they were supposed to.
I just ask, cause personally, I don't think we should ever release personal information. I'm against it, but.
I agree. I think that's a personal thing.
But you're not releasing, you're not releasing.
It's not being released to the
It's
general
not
public.
no.
If we wanted to generate an email database off of campers, what's the difference? If I wanted to call and do a customer, you know, did you have a good time at the campground? Are you coming back next year? I
don't
have no.
know the answer to that. It's a
Yeah.
good question, I
Well,
don't, but I think.
let's find out. Let's kill this thing and figure it out.
Okay, we move on to action items. Planning Commission DDA has a recommendation to fill a slot. And somewhere in all of this.
I don't know what's in there.
It's not in
It's in the last month's packet.
It was in my-
last week's, all right. Okay, there's only one person anyway. Corey, do you want to make a statement?
Diana Cheney, there was two, and one withdrew, and Diana Cheney was the recommendation from the planning commission. We recommend that she be appointed to the planning commission DDA.
Any discussion? Need a motion to approve the appointment?
If I aren't the president, the only one to make that nomination. I think you're the only one to make a nomination for appointment.
Okay, I nominate Mrs. Jane, so,
I'll second that.
all right. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Or
You are now a member of the planning DDA.
Thank you. Or is it correct in hearing that somebody else did step down, and so there's still another vacant seat now?
There is.
Have you had any prospects or anyone on that yet?
One that I'm unaware of.
Diana, you need to, if you don't know, go to Rachel to get sworn in and sign your life away.
And I believe we're advertising until August 28th for the current opening.
I think it's, just before the next meeting.
Is that one of the inner or outer seats, residential?
Non-residential.
It's a non-residential seat, it needs to be.
Got a DDA budget amendment? Somebody else have it? Oh, there it is.
This one,
There we go. Any discussion with respect to this?
It's just moving the $200 from their basic fund balance into lease agreements line item.
Who, did this come from the DDA or did we generate this?
That came from
I
the
just
DDA.
added to
Okay.
the bottom item.
I make a motion to accept the DDA's proposal with expenses.
Any support?
Support.
Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Okay, budget resolution number 1. This was an appropriation to transfer $10,000 from the water fund balance to water repair and maintenance supplies. It was a decision that we made last meeting, and we're just following up the paperwork for it. So,
I'll make a motion to accept resolution number 1, 2015 also.
Support.
been moved and supported. Any further discussion? It's not a roll call, is it? Yeah, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Pro-Tech annual membership, I brought this up. The Coalition to Protect Public Rights